Hey guys, what is...
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.
If you've been tuning in to the channel, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Charles. I make photography videos, camera gears, reviews. Anyways, today we're gonna talk about camera basics. The base, the foundation, the essential of starting to take creative photos. So before we get started, I think everyone should know by now, even beginner photographers, that photography is all about lighting. Because without lighting, our photos will be dark, will be black, we can't even see anything. So even for videos, currently right now I have two lights set up, and without these lights, my videos right now will be dark. So I think it is good to know that, photography and also videos, it's all about lighting. Alright, so camera basics or basic photography is composed of three parts. One is aperture, second is ISO, third one is shutter speed. So with those three things all together, they're called exposure triangle. Each of those settings will affect how the way your photo is gonna turn out. So that's what we're gonna do in this video, is to learn how each of those settings will affect your photos or even your videos. Right now I have my exposure triangle, my setting set up how I want it to be so that I could have proper exposure doing this video. So the first thing we're gonna learn in the exposure triangle is the aperture. So aperture is measured by f-stops. So I'm gonna use the lens kit right here as an example. So the aperture for this lens is 3.5 to 5.6. So that's the lowest the aperture can go for this lens. Now every lens is different, just like this one right here, my Canon 50mm prime lens. The aperture for this one can go down to 1.8. So how does the aperture affect your photo? So first things first, we're gonna talk about lighting. So let's take the lens kit. So we all know that the aperture, the f-stop for this lens kit is 3.5. So if you have a lower f-stop, the wider the aperture will be, that means that more light will come through, and that means that your photo will be brighter. Then if you have a higher f-stop, the narrower the aperture will be, that means that less light will come through to your lens and your photo will be dark. So that's one of the things the aperture will affect your photo. Another thing the aperture affects your photo is the depth of field. So the way it works is that if you have a lower f-stop, the narrower the depth of field will be. So your subject will be more in focus and the background will be all blurry. Now, if you have a higher f-stop, the greater the depth of field will be. So for example, will be like a landscape photo when everything is more in focus and there's no depth of field, everything is all clear. So that's how the aperture affects your photo. Now let's move on to the next part, which would be ISO or ISO. Let's just go with ISO. Now ISO works differently than aperture. It is not like the lower the number, the brighter the image will be, and the higher the number, the darker the image will be. For ISO, it works backwards. The lower the number, the darker the image will be, and the higher the number, the brighter the image will be. So that's how the ISO affects the lighting. So now if you're wondering how ISO will affect your photo, so for ISO, if you have a lower number, that means less light will hit the sensor of your camera. That means it will be dark, but also there will be no noise or grain in the photos you're about to take. Now if you have a higher ISO, that means that more light will hit the sensor of your camera. That means that there will be more likely to have noise or grain in the photos you're about to take. So that's how ISO works in your photos. That's enough for the ISO. Now let's talk about the last setting, which will be the shutter speed. So for shutter speed, it is how long the shutter will remain open. It is how long the sensor will be exposed to the light. So if you have a faster shutter speed, that means that less time your sensor will be exposed to the light. Now if you have a slower shutter speed, that means that more time your sensor will be exposed to the light. So now you're wondering, how will the shutter speed affect your photo? So if you have a higher shutter speed, it will stop motion. So just like in sports, when people are moving, if you want to take photos of them in a sharp, crispy photos, you need to have a higher shutter speed. So that's how you get that effect when you're able to stop motion even though they're moving. Now, if you have a lower shutter speed, it will create motion. For example, night photography. If you want to get that nice streak of light effect on your photo, your shutters need to be open. It can be open for like 3 seconds, 10 seconds, or even longer, depending on the effect that you want to create. It will create that nice motion effect. So that's how the shutter speed affect your photo, and that is it. Those are the camera basics or basic photography. Either or, it doesn't really matter. So we learned that each setting creates a different effect in your photos, and for us to be able to take the photos that we want to create, we need to find balance in the exposure triangle. Depending on which environment we are at, our exposure triangle setting will vary. So all we have to do now is to go out there and shoot some photos. Just keep practicing, practice until you get the hang of it. It might take a while. For me, it took me like years just to be able to know how to change the settings on the way I want it to be. So you gotta have tons of patience and enjoy the learning process. So that's pretty much it. I hope this video is helpful, and if it is, give it a thumbs up. And also, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, and also leave me a comment down below what you guys think about the video. And also, if you guys have any future suggestions of what type of video I should make, just leave me a comment down below, and for sure I'll get into it. And also, if you guys want to follow me on my Instagram, the link is down below on the description box. But anyways, that's it. Hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.